What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Spencer. Taking a look at this my most updated Raidraptor list. There's not much changes, but this is the deck that I'm going to be taking with me to YCS. I know I'm not going to win YCS. I know I'm not going to top, but this is the deck I'm most comfortable with, and I just really want to take it. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. So I just made a couple of changes. Really, Small World is kind of the biggest one, and I'll explain, kind of how that works. So you have to run Crossout Designator. That's a given. Like, the deck is a combo deck, but if you go off 99% of the times, you're going to win. You're going to have such a crazy board. Your opponent definitely is not going to be able to fight through it. So Nibiru, Ash, Ghost Spell. I don't know. I guess you can maybe get rid of this card if you really wanted to. Effect Veiler. And I'll go over the other ones, right? Like Imperm and all that. But these are my four main ones. I don't think there's anything else that's like really worth playing as of right now. Imperm and Ash are like, and Nibiru are going to be like the ones that you're going to catch most of the time. But I do like to play a bunch of other one-ofs just in case. 3 Paralytic Seed, it's one of the craziest extenders. I think it's probably the best in Trap Tricks, but this has got to be a close second, especially if you like just have enough to make like one, 4 Strix. You search out something like, let's see, anything, but Singing Lanius, let's say. Then you can special summon that out, you can bring out the Link, and then obviously Paralytic Seed triggers. And it also helps you chain block, which is also extremely important too. So this card is also searchable through a Small World package. So I did mention that earlier. Small World is like one of the biggest changes. It's the best change I've made to the deck by far in a long, long time. It's boosted my consistency like crazy. But you can actually get to Parallax Seed through the easiest Small World bridge in the entire game of Yu-Gi-Oh! I'm convinced. This card is the end-all be-all for this deck. This is the Dark. That's all it is. These line up through being 2,000 attack. So if you can use this as the bridge, you need to go into Parallax Seed, you can. Most of the time, Druiswurm is the bridge to everything. Absolutely in everything. Anything and everything is what I mean to say, right? Regulator, any of the Raidraptor monsters, but most of the time it's going to be Regulator. Regulator is a 1-card, like 8 interruption combo. It's one of the best normal summons in the entire game of Yu-Gi-Oh! For sure, but yeah, Druiswurm, man, this card is the best in this deck. It's like technically a form of interruption, if you get lucky with the matchup, but most of the time, right, Small World, reveal any Dark in your hand, go through Druiswurm, and then pick out whatever you want from your deck. It is a dragon, so you can't go into these, but most of if you really wanted to, you could like find another bridge. Like Boots is also a bridge to get to Tracer, right? This is a warrior, Dark level 3 with weird stats, so you can also do that if you really want to, but it's not super necessary. But yeah, biggest change I made, right? And it's been really, really good. Simorg is a decent one of. I think you could honestly like get rid of this card if you wanted to, but sometimes it does help me in a pinch for sure, especially like your normal summon doesn't really have an effect, you know what I mean? Like this normal summon tributes itself, so it's never going to be too relevant, but sometimes like you are going to open up so many of these one-of names and you need to actually search something in order to trigger the effect of, the Y-Strix. So this card does kind of come in clutch in that sense. 2 Time Thief Winder. So you don't want to run both of these, Basil Ship and Time Thief Winder, as a one-of, because if you draw one, then Regulator can't be used. It has to bring out 2 materials from the deck. And the reason I run Winder at 2 is because this card can special summon it from the hand by detaching material from XYZ monster you control. And that's important, right? This card has an effect when it's special summoned, which is what you're normally going to do, but if it's in the hand, you can still special summon it. Helps you search Retrograde, right? That's your insurance against Dark Ruler. That's your insurance against Forbidden Droplet most of the time, right? Your opponent's probably not sending a trap card. So it's just this really good insurance. It's this really good extender. Love this card. It literally won me a duel. So I was playing, I normal summoned Regulator, tributed, I got Ash, and that's really, really bad. But then I had Quick Launch in my hand. Quick Launch, you go through Tracer, right? Tracer turns into Striker Dragon searches Boot Sector Launch. You pop Striker Dragon, bring back Tracer to your hand, special summon back with Boot Sector Launch the Tracer, Tracer pops the field spell to bring out another body from the deck, and then I did have this in my hand, so like I said, this card is like super, super good when it comes to extenders, right? Because I took Rocket Tracer and Caliber, turned that into 4 Strix, overlay, search, Singing Lanius, detach material with Winder, search the counter trap, and I was off to the races. So you do have those extenders, and sometimes you really do need cards like this in your hand, so it really works out. And maybe, I don't know, you can drop this to grab another Winder, because it is pretty good, but I don't know. This is like kind of a free extender that every once in a while you need. If you actually just have these two cards in your hand, it's full combo by itself. But all right, and then I talked about Basilisk Ship, right? Not bad. So there's one interaction, and I'm glad these cards are next to each other. This is so random, but it came up one time and it won me a duel, so it's worth noting if you guys really like Raidraptor. You contribute this card, especially in one Dark Dragon, and whatever reason, or one Dark Machine. This is a Dark Machine, so you would want to trade these out. It seems like it's a 1-for-1 to bring this out, but right, Basilisk Ship has that extra, effect from the graveyard. So if you really do, right, if you only have Rocket Tracer and this card in your hand, you're going to want to tribute this card, right, to bring out Basilisk Ship. That way you can overlay, detach the search, and then bring it back immediately. So this card is kind of a garden in your hand. Most of the time it is, but not always, right? Quick Launch is an avenue there, and Tracer is too. I used to run all these different things with, rockets. I used to run them at 2. I used to run a different rocket monster, right? I had all these different ones. I think for a time I was running Recharger, but at the end of the day, Tracer normal summon, at least pop, gives you one more material. And at that point, you probably have at least one extender to go through. It's kind of the whole point of the deck, right? Small World 2 is kind of helps you do that. So I don't know if you, obviously it's a personal preference. If you want to run this, if you don't think that, because the thing is if you open Caliber and Tracer, you can't pop to bring out Tracer. Tracer can't bring out itself, but that's a very small percentage chance of happening. And I find that having a normal summon that at least gives you another body gives you a way more chance of having a play versus just kind of passing churn. So that's why this is kind of like my final ratio when it comes to the Rockets. And this is a free extender from the hand if it, gets special summon itself to a Dark Link zone. So this is Strangliness, and the whole deck searches itself, so all these cards are essentially copies of each other in a sense. Mimicry is what you're going to bring out from the deck. Stinging Lanius is one of the targets. You're going to go for 4 Strix. Raider's Wing is also a 4 Strix target. It's also a Y Strix target. It's also a Rusty Bardige target. So if you do have to use Boots as a Small World Bridge, at the very least, you still have another card that you can send, with Rusty. This counts as a Raidraptor and a Phantom Knights card at all times. Dark Ruler, this is your kind of insurance. I think it's good to just have in the deck, but it's a little bit of insurance with Cross-Eyed Designator, right? You want to protect yourself from those really powerful cards like Triple Tactical Talents. And this card just kind of does that in a sense. So I actually love playing this in the main deck. I don't mind drawing it, and if I don't, then I can just set Cross-Eyed Designator with a lot more confidence, right? If your opponent doesn't interrupt you at all, first of all, you sweat Sphere Mode, but as long as your opponent doesn't have Sphere Mode, right, and they're relying on some of the other cards, then, you're pretty good. Forbidden Droplets is, really good in this deck, right? Cross Out and Quick Launch are all quick play spells. This is good to send to the graveyard. This isn't bad to send to the graveyard. It has the same effect as hand and graveyard. This is a good start to send to the graveyard. All these, beneficial effects that you can do. And I've had hands where I've opened up Forbidden Droplets and double Quick Launch, and that's just so lethal. Just super, super killer. Cross-Out Designator I've talked a lot about. Soul Shave Force, fantastic card. Right, gets you going into infinity, lets you go into Wallow, which is really cool. Small World, I've been going over that extensively. Call by the Grave, this is a combo deck. Rank Up Magic Force, right? Phantom Knights Rank Up Magic Force helps you go into one of your big bodies, which, most of the time is going to be Requiem, almost all the time. So good, right? It's a Psyframe Gear Gamma 3 times, non-once per chain. It's incredible. Quick Launch is one of the best extenders in the entire game, obviously. Boot Sector Launch I've been talking about. Imperm, it's just one of those targets for Cross Out. Shade Brigandine, it's one of the best parts of the deck, right? Rusty Bardige can send Boots, which can set Rusty Bardige to special summon itself, or Shade Brigandine, excuse me. Shade Brigandine can special summon itself, guaranteeing that you have a really good Time Thief Redoer. And most of the time when you go through your combos, especially if you start through Time Thief Regulator, you're going to have a Time Thief Redoer that has a trap card guaranteed, right? It's searchable from the deck. And then your opponent's big going second cards are almost always going to be spell cards. So you basically get a monster, a trap, and a spell card 90% of the time to start out with, and that's awesome. Yeah, retrogrades that spell and trap counter, which is the fact that it's a counter trap is also super important. Going on to the extra deck, Borreload Savage Dragon. Every once in a while, right, you open those quick launch lines, you get to go into another Omni Negate, and that's always fantastic. Zeus is kind of just like that card that you need Like, that's going to give you the best chance going second. This isn't the best. I don't know. It's weird. I think that you're just playing an XYZ deck, so you kind of have to. Maybe you want to give up another target for rank up Magic Force, but you only get to use it once. So I kind of feel like you might as well only run one target for it, even if you're not going to be able to use it. It's good, you know, bait against your opponent if they're looking at your extra deck and they can pick out a card. I'm not exactly sure, but there's been a few times where I've gone to the Zeus and it's like my only option, so it's just okay. Satellite Cannon Falcon is a Harpy's Feather Duster as a quick effect, which is super important, right? If you know your opponent's playing Labyrinth, you can play very, very conservatively, right? They set 5. They're not going to expect it, especially if they have something like Sphere Mode or something like that. They're going to get rid of the big name cards, the Infinities, you know, the Requiems, and all these other cards like Rusty, and they'll leave something like Force Strix, right? You're going to purposely leave this out on the board, and then they're going to try to go to the end phase, right? Set 5, pass. All you got to do, activate the quick play spell. This is won me a duel, many duels, right? You go into Satellite, pop their whole back row, and then they just have to quit. Wallow, right? If you have to dark lock yourself early, you need to be able to go into a dark rank 6. There used to not be a good one forever. One was like this Dracula card, but it was really buns. And this card is at least Graveyard Interruption, and it also gives you the 100 attack boost for every card in your opponent's graveyard, which really adds up at some of these matchups, right? When your opponent is staring down 3k attack Redoers and like 4,000 attack Requiem or like 3,500, your opponent's going to be hurting pretty darn badly. So this card I have found a lot of use. It's really good. Infinity, Arc Rebellion XYZ, Dark Requiem XYZ, Dark Rebellion, right? This tiny little package here. So you can also put Raider's Knight here, right? Raider's Knight helps you go into Arc Rebellion. Super important against Albaz matchups because you're not going to be able to, like, well, I mean, Infinity's your main out to Mirror Jade, you know, if you can get there, assuming your opponent doesn't have that much interruption, which they will. The last thing, right, it's a big attack archetype. You know, Albaz is going to have a lot of attack points on the board, and this has just killed them, right? You're going to get over Mirror Jade, but there's no next turn, right? There's no end phase if you have like a 10 or 12,000 attack Arc Rebellion. Time Thief Redoer, which I've talked about a lot. 4 Strix, a couple of those, you need 2. Rusty Bardige, Y Strix, and then the 1 copy of Striker Dragon. This side deck is what it is. You know, Dark Dimension Shifter kills this deck, so you definitely have to run it in the side. Couple more Nibiru's, right? The going second strategy, when you know you're going second. You can take out Crossout Designators, right? Maybe take out Call by the Grave. You can take out Retrograde. That's always a good option. And then that kind of gives you that flexibility. So extra Nibiru's, you know, just trying to get ready for that Kashtira matchup. You know, that's where Book of Eclipse comes in. Extra Dark Ruler and Remorse, Lightning Storms, Harpy Feather Duster, and Evenly Matched. Just kind of your average sideboard. Nothing too important. But yeah, this is... And you can see, like, looking at the prices, I think they take these from TCG players, but I can confirm it's, like, pretty darn close. This is about as, you know, $232 for a complete deck in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! is pretty nice. And you're going to be able to steal wins from this, right? Your opponent's definitely not going to expect you to play Raidraptors. You're going to have an advantage, and you're going to have a really good end board, and that's really what I'm going for. I just hope, you know, going to YCS, I just want to win one match. It's kind of my dream, because I don't know if I'll ever be able to go again. So I'm looking forward to it, and yeah, let me know what you guys think about this in the comment section down below. Other than that, that's going to do it for today's video, and I'll see you guys next time.